Let's go out to Phoenix, Arizona, and talk to Megan. Hey, Megan, what's happening?
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning to you. I'm doing great. What's up?
Well, I was wondering if you can give me some tips or tricks to successfully grieve a life that I thought I would have and accept
Why don't you
how
have
things
it?
are.
Or let me say
Why
this.
don't I have it?
What's the life you thought you would have right now?
I expected that I would get married and around, I'll be honest, I had it laid out. I just kind of, you take for granted, I guess, certain things. And I just assumed that by 25, 26, I would get married, have the wedding day, and I would have 2 or 3 kids between 27 and 32. And that's what I saw. 2 incomes, minimal debt, family vacations, and life just went a whole other direction.
What happened? Where'd it go?
Well, I did not meet anybody that felt right for a long time. And then I decided at 32, 33, I was like, okay, well, I'll just do it myself. And so I lost 50 pounds to up my chances, and I put money away, and I
Up your chances for what?
Artificial insemination.
Okay. So take care of yourself. I thought you were like, I'm getting rid of these dating apps, but you're talking about like, no, I'm going to just become a mom on my own. Okay. All right.
No, I decided, well, I can do this myself. And so I looked into artificial insemination, and I was like, okay, I'm definitely going to need money, and I will have better chance at success if I lose some weight. I did 3 rounds, and 2 of them didn't take. 1 did, but I lost it, which was disappointing.
Hey, hold on. It wasn't disappointing. That's devastating. Right?
Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah. Let's don't just be like, oh, well, like that's brutal.
No,
So lots of money, lots of time, lots of investment. And then, okay.
So then I met my man. I met him, and it was that cheesy, weird feeling where it was the fireworks, but it was also that sense of calm. It was, there you are. It was just home. It was peace. And I thought, there's my picture. Now here he is. And over the course of several months, I ended up finding that he actually is, believe it or not, in prison. And he was wrongfully convicted of child molestation. And I know how that sounds, believe me. You think it, I thought it too. And I mean, we have been fighting it, and here we are 6 years later, and he's lost hope a few times, and I've lost hope a few times. And it's just like you look up one day, and I'm like, I'm 38 now. And it's just like, wow, this is definitely a different picture than I would have ever guessed for myself. So let's have it. I know it's coming.
There's nothing coming. I mean, I'm going to put aside the single part because that's hard. That's a mess, especially these days. Okay. Especially if you think back to 10 years ago when all of the world's problems were going to be solved through dating apps and all that kind of stuff, that world, right? Which is right when you were doing all this. That world's a mess. So I'm not going to harp on that. But I guess the thing I want you to really internalize is this is the life you've repeatedly chosen on a regular basis. And
I agree.
it's not a
It's
life
hard 'cause
that
I don't-
happened to you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I don't regret my decisions to be with him. I think it's more of like I feel like I always made the right choices in life. I always went to school. I had, the perfect credit score. I had my master's by 30. I took care of everybody. I juggled work and school and took care of grandparents and parents. Like I made all the right decisions. And so then there's this child in me that wants to throw a tantrum and be like, this isn't fair. I made all the right choices. I did all the right things.
Here's what you did. You got the shiniest pair of tap shoes and the coolest hat and the nicest cane. And you've been singing and dancing for everybody for 38 years. And so you did all the right things, but all those things were things that other people told you were going to make you valuable and worthy. And here's how I know that you don't care a lot about your graduate degree. People I know who are, like you hear me talk a lot about, like we put all the marketing materials. I got 2 PhDs. I don't ever talk about my master's degree. You know why? Because it was a high five that the school gave me en route to something deeply important to me, which was learning this material. But there was a season when I just wanted to get a master's because people told me that would make me more valuable in the marketplace.
Yeah, I happened to work for a university, and so I got it for free. So it was like my mom said, "Well, it's a free master's."
No, I would tell every friend I have. I would tell them that. I'll tell everybody on the planet, if you work at a university and they get free graduate degrees, of course, take one. The challenge is you thought it was going to feel differently, and that it was going to be the key that unlocked the portal to not like more money or not more whatever. It was going to solve you. Whew. I'm going to take care of grandma. I'm going to take care of mom and dad. I'm going to go do the next right thing. I'm going to make sure I don't borrow a lot of money. I'm going to have all these things were supposed to be what made you feel still inside, and they didn't. And my fear is you're waking up at 38 realizing and even the last 6 years, I'm not going to fight you on whether I think your boyfriend's guilty or not. But for 6 years, you've been fighting somebody else's fight. And my fear is you've woke up at 38 realizing you made a bunch of choices every day for your whole life. And you never bothered to ask Megan, what do you want to do?
I think I knew what I wanted. I wanted a wedding day where my mom could see me in a dress and my friends and family around. I wanted the relationship with my child like my mom had with her mom and I have with mine.
I get that.
And
that's gut-wrenching. I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you, now that I've learned since being in this mess, it's like it's so eye-opening. You just don't know anything about the justice system or the prison system, and you get into it and you're just like, what in the world?
Yeah. It's wild.
It's hard not to get caught up in it because, it's just...
We
thought it would be different. We thought that, we got a post-conviction lawyer and he was super experienced and found a dozen errors, some of which were egregious and constitutional. And the Court of Appeals agreed, like, if this is true, we're due remedy. And we were like, okay, this is going to be over. And it's just...
Hey, Megan.
Obviously, I could bore you with all of it. It's just ridiculous.
I was going to say, you are, over 38 years, you have mastered the art of taking a left. Of saying, look over here. Because looking deep inside the mirror hurts, doesn't it? It was supposed to be different.
It was supposed to be different.
The only way I can tell you I can give you a couple of tips and tricks on grieving, okay? Most importantly, I want you to pick up a book by David Kessler called Finding Meaning. It's the single best book on grief ever written, okay? And there's some important things in there. Whether you're grieving the loss of a life that you wanted, or whether you're grieving somebody's passed away in your life, or you've lost a loved one, whatever. And you've had a lot of loss in your life. And I can give you a couple of quick things that you can, just for you and the audience here. I'm going to tell you, you're going to have to sit down and own this for your body to metabolize it. And you're so quick to not feel that hurt, to move on to the next and to the next, to the next, to the next. Even just in this conversation. I want you to write 26-year-old Megan a letter. Say, "Dear Megan, I'm sorry." And this might sound cheesy, but it might be a matter of you sitting on the floor and literally hugging yourself. But I want you to envision yourself hugging that 26-year-old girl and saying, "Hey, this picture that you have, it's going to be different."
Yeah, I never had time to.
No, I want to change your language, okay? You've chosen not to have time. I want to begin to own these things as choices. Because otherwise it feels like the whole world is happening to us all the time. And you did take some pretty bold action. I'm going to go the artificial insemination route. It didn't work. It's very expensive. You had lots of dreams. You dreamed about holding that baby. You probably started going through names. You went down that rabbit hole. And that's painful. But even in this call, you avoided it. You're like, "Yeah, that kind of was crummy." No, dude, you got to sit in that for a minute. It feels like a loss. You had a name, right?
Oh, I had a few.
Yeah.
And I had friends that were like giving me baby stuff already.
Of course they were, because they were all in this with you.
Yeah.
Maybe write a letter to that little baby. Say, "I would have loved to have been holding you right now. I'm sorry we didn't get to meet."
That would suck, John.
I know. But this sucks too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. It's not a slap in the face, but this is a slow being held right underwater, and you can see the light. You can barely almost breathe, but you just can't. The last thing I would tell you to do is to get, and you may have heard me say this early on in the show. I used to say this a lot, but I want you to get a cinder block of some sort. I want you to go to Lowe's or Home Depot, get a cinder block, and get some duct tape and write it on that cinder block. Was going to be married by 26. Was going to be this, going to have 3 kids, going to be this. Was not going to have spent 6 years with a convicted child molester trying to fight the justice system. Had a different picture when I was 38. And I want you to carry that cinder block around your backyard for a little while. And spend some time being really sad and really angry and really frustrated. And your shoulders are going to ache. Your hands will ache. Your forearms will get really tight and heavy. And then after 5 minutes, 20 minutes, however long, until it burns, I want you to throw that thing on the floor, on the ground, somewhere in the back corner of your yard, or out in a field somewhere, and say, "I'm never picking that up again."
Okay.
Because choosing to carry that with you only brings misery into today. It does not solve what didn't happen at 27, 28, 31, 33. And the question you have to ask yourself now is, what am I going to do now? Am I going to stick with this guy, just be married to a convicted felon forever? Or in love?
I am sticking with them.
Okay. Then you have to own the choices.
Knowing all the ins and outs, yeah.
Great. You have to, I'm choosing to be single for the rest of my life. I'm not choosing to be single, but I'm choosing to not have another intimate embrace for the rest of my life. Period. I'm not saying it's a bad choice. I just want you to fully own specifically the choices that you make. I'm never going to have a family around a Christmas tree. That's the storybook traditional kind. You're gonna have family, you'll have your parents, you'll have cousins, you may adopt a kid, you may have all kind of things, but I want you to fully own what that choice means. And I'm not saying don't make that choice, man. But the more you stand firm, I'm staying with this guy, and don't acknowledge the cost of that decision, the more your body tries to solve for the gap in the declaration. I will live in this town, in this house, and work this job. I will stay with this convicted child molester because I know he's innocent. Okay, cool. You get to make that choice. And here is the cost on the other side. Your body, as Vander Kolk says, keeps the score. It knows that means we don't have anybody to keep us warm in the winter. That means we don't ever have anybody to stroll and just go shopping. We don't have anybody that's going to surprise us with flowers or ice cream. And that's okay, but that's a choice you have to own. And so when you long for, God, I wish I just had somebody on the couch watching this new season of, you have to go, no, I picked him. I picked him. And this goes for any relationship. Man, I wish I just had a wife that wanted to go to CrossFit with me. I picked her. I wish I had a husband that made more money so I could get the new Tahoe. No, I love him. I picked him. Start with that letter to your 26-year-old self. Tell her you love her. And tell her you've chosen the life that you wanted. And it's hard. Maybe you don't regret it. Or maybe you start to keep a cost accounting sheet on the other side and say, all right, if I stay with this guy, here's what's going to cost. It's going to cost this and this and this and this and this. And all these dreams are going to go away. That's cool. I'm going to grieve them because I wanted them, but it's not the life I chose. Okay. But I want you to begin to take active role in choosing, owning your life. I just don't want you to wake up at 58 and go, what did I do? I just let the whole thing slip through my fingers. And by the way, you're 38. You're just getting started. I'm way older than you. Not way. Kelly is way older than you. I'm just a few years older. And if you make some changes, it can all be pretty amazing moving forward.